Hi, in this video we're going to sketch a quadratic graph where it's an expanded form, so we don't already have brackets here. And the way we can do this is to find where this graph cuts the x-axis and cuts the y-axis. First, let's think about the shape. When we have a quadratic graph, when we were plotting it, we saw either it had a smiley face shape or it had a kind of hill shape, frowny face shape, right? And the way we could tell between the two is that if the number in front of the x squared, so this 3 here, if it's a positive number, then we have the smiley face shape. So if we have a positive value in front of the x squared, so like plus 3x squared or even just plus 1x squared, then it's going to be this shape on the left. And if it's a negative x squared term, it's going to look like this. So it's positive 3x squared, so we know it's therefore going to look like this. So our final graph should look like this shape. And now we also want to, as a starting point, find where it intercepts the x and y axis. So remember, to find the y axis, we need to make the x value 0, because at any point on the y axis, the x coordinate is going to be 0. And remember, the quick way we could do that is to just look at this constant term at the end, because if you think about it, if x was 0, you're going to have 3 times 0 squared is 0, plus 2 times 0 is still 0, minus 8, and that would just give you minus 8, wouldn't it? So the y value when x is 0 will be minus 8. So let's plot that down here. And then to find where the graph cuts the x-axis, well, any point on the x-axis, the y value is 0. So in this equation here, we need to substitute that y for 0. So let's do that. Y is 0. 0 equals 3x squared plus 2x minus 8. So we got that. And we need to solve this equation. Now, to solve this, what we need to do, well, we explored it in previous videos, we need to find two numbers that add to give the middle number, so the number in front of the x, so the plus 2, and multiply to give the first times the last number, so the 3 times the minus 8. 3 times minus 8 is minus 24. So what two numbers add to give 2 and multiply to give minus 24? Well, let's consider numbers that multiply to give 24 first, forgetting the negative. Well, 6 and 4. But 6 and 4 do combine to make 2 in some way, don't they? So if you start with the 6 and the 4, we know that one of these numbers has to be negative, because if two numbers multiply to give a negative number, one of these has to be negative. But it's going to be the 4 that's negative, because then when you add 6 and negative 4, you get 2, which is correct. So then what you do is you split the middle term into those two numbers of 6 and negative 4. So you have plus 6x minus 4x. We need the x's because, well, if you simplify this, 6x minus 4x is 2 lots of x, which we have here. And then we just copy in the other terms, so 3x squared in the front, the minus 8 on the end. And then what we do is we factorize the first half and the second half. So 3x squared plus 6x, what's common to them both? Well, 3 and 6 have a common factor of 3. X squared and x have x in common. Then you have a bracket. 3x times what is 3x squared? It's x. And 3x times what is plus 6x is plus 2. Then what you do is you leave a slight gap, you repeat the bracket, and then you consider what goes in that gap. What times x would give you minus 4x? Well, it would be minus 4. And let's just check we got it right. Minus 4 times what? Minus 4 times 2, is that minus 8? Yes, it is. So that works. And then remember, to finish it off, that we make one of the brackets whatever this bracket is here. So that's going to be one of the brackets, x plus 2. And then the other bracket is just whatever's outside of the bracket. So we've got the 3x minus 4 will be the other bracket. Okay, we're nearly there. We've factorized it. So we've got a product of two things. Two things multiplied together equals 0. Well, if two numbers multiplied to give 0, at least one of them has to be 0. So if the x plus 2 is 0, well, let's just solve that. If x plus 2 is 0, what would x be? What plus 2 is 0? Well, it's minus 2, isn't it? So that's one of the solutions. And if 3x minus 4 was equal to 0, then if you add 4 to both sides of the equation, you get 3x equals 4. Then divide by the 3, you get 4 over 3. So those are the two values of x that make y 0. Remember, the quick way to this last step is that you just negate this value and divide by whatever number's in front of the x. So it's The +2 becomes -2. You change the sign. -2 over 1 is just -2, which is what we got here. And then this one, you negate the -4 to become +4. The sign changes. You get 4 over that 3, which is exactly what we got. So that's the quick way of doing it. So when x was -2 or 4 over 3, y was 0. So let's plot those. When x is -2, y is 0. So -2, 0. And we've also got 4 over 3, 0. So 4 over 3 is 1 1/3, which is going to be about like that. And then we know we have this shape here, the smiley face shape. Also note that the where the sort of bottom point of this quadratic is, this bottom point here, that's going to be halfway between -2 and the 1 1/3. And that's because this graph is symmetrical about this kind of middle line here. So halfway between the two is going to be sort of, well, I could do it on my calculator actually. If I average 4 over 3 and -2, so 4 over 3, and I add -2 and divide it by 2. Well, halfway between those two values is -1/3. So it's going to be roughly here, the center, the line of reflection. So around about here. So then when we plot this quadratic, it's going to come down like this with a smiley face shape to this bottom point here and then come back up. But if you're doing this on my platform, you should have 3 control points that you can drag around, and it should then draw the quadratic graph through those 3 points for you to make it a bit easier.